Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and happy Halloween. It's Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're back in action, back in the seat, back in the office. Last week was a rough week. Had a lot going on. We got JC today, then we'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com breaking down Florida, Georgia. Looking forward to A&M and everything else going on in college football. But let's go to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by Corn Dog. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Yeah,
I'm out at the oil fields in Texas.
Yeah, you're stuck in the Permian Basin there with Pioneer Natural Resources rigs. And, Texas, man. It's a good trip for folks that haven't been around much and want to see something new in the SEC to go take a ride out to College Station. You could get a direct flight out of Jacksonville, Orlando, or Tampa right into Houston. And I would recommend flying into George Bush, which is north, and that gets you to College Station a lot quicker than if you fly into Hobby. So keep that in mind if you're flying on Southwest or United.
Andy wanted me to know if that was Midland, Texas. I don't know where we are, Andy.
Yeah, you're in the Permian. Yes, you're in the Permian. It was just a cool look.
It was a cool looking picture.
You're in the Permian Basin, in Midland and Odessa. That's where all the production is. Yes, sir. You are.
All right. One of our first Titan MR, Meldon Law Facebook Lives. Jeremy says, "Can we please get Kitna in there?" All right, I'm going to touch on that today because. I can't tell you how many people I've had ask me, why are we not calling more run plays? Why are we not having him run the ball? And I try to tell them, look, people, do you not think that two of the brightest defensive minds in college football that coach on the other sideline by the names of Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp know what the kid can and cannot do? I mean, JC, do you think they know what Anthony Richardson can and cannot do?
I mean, I would think they may have seen
as much tape that they break down, and as many games as they've watched him play. And it's going to come down to what I've said from day one. If you can't throw completions, you cannot play quarterback. I don't care who you are, what school you play for. And if you look at all the top 20 teams in America, they have guys that can throw the football.
I mean, and not only do they have guys that can throw the football, there's some backups out there that can throw a lot of footballs too. Check out Kansas State if you get a chance.
Yeah, so here's the other question I'm going to address. Jerry wants to know, I want to know why we're running on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9. I don't get it. Okay, well, we did do that a couple of times and we converted, so nobody has a problem with that. A lot of times when you call stuff, it's about tendencies. And Georgia was lining up on 3rd and longs, 5 defensive backs. Literally, JC, if the line to gain was, say, the 30-yard line, those 5 guys just lined up directly across the 30-yard line, and it was their plan. And so Billy and them saw that, so they thought we could address it by running. And sometimes if you run it for 6 or 7 yards, then you may go for it. And again, we can't throw the football. I don't know how else to say it, people. We missed wide open guys the other day.
Well, so, I mean, this is a broken record for you, QB. I mean, it's a broken record.
But it's facts. And it drives me insane when people keep saying, we need to do this, we need to do that. We are handcuffed at what we can do offensively, okay? And people want to know, why are we running like the same place? We are handcuffed. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, and
you can't call stuff your guy cannot comprehend.
Right. So now let's turn the page. Watch. I'm turning the page here. There it goes. No, let's get some other players in there.
It's not going to happen because of NIL. It's not going to happen. I'm a big believer in that now.
Then go 4-6 or 5-7 and sit home. I mean, it's up to you. And then, don't get any of your players who are sitting watching this crap. Don't get them in the game. Don't let them get any game experience. Don't let them do anything good. And let's just go 5-7. Forget about it. I'm not going to watch. I'll tell you this. I'm not going to any more games and spending money and time watching this crap. It was like watching a practice scrimmage Saturday. It wasn't fun.
Okay, let me get to these. Andy asked, Shane, do you think AR's NFL stock is declining with each week? No. They don't care how he plays. Will he come back? We need him to. He needs to go pro. Greg says, if Spurrier was a coach, we'd be on our third QB by now. That is true, Greg, but here's the difference. Every one of his guys could do what he wanted to do. Think about that. Right, JC? Every quarterback that played under Steve Spurrier were all the same guy.
Yeah, I remember when
they could throw completions.
Yeah, QB, when you first played, nobody knew who the receivers were. Nobody knew anything.
Right. I'm just saying in his 12-year span, all his guys were the same guy. Okay? It wasn't like, okay, let's put in this backup and we're going to run the quarterback draw all day. No, they're going to drop back and run the system because they could all throw the football.
Well, I mean, I love Noah. He wasn't one that I would remember.
But he completed passes.
He did.
He was a walk-on.
He made good decisions. He didn't mess up. He didn't give the ball away. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, they're all the same guy. This is funny. Cliff says, I believe Lane Kiffin has some HBC in him. Did you hear his post-game comments? Basically taking a shot at John James Fisher.
Yeah, John James Fisher is the most. I mean, it's criminal what's going on there and the money he's stealing. But hey, they're the idiots who paid him. They're the idiots who extended him. And that's who they're all in, dude. He's going nowhere. That you can forget about it. There is no chance, zero chance they're getting rid of him and buying that out. Otherwise, they would go ahead and pay off that TV obligation and join the SEC. So that's not going to happen. Sorry.
All right, I got a text on the Titan Mark text line from Doug. He says, hey, select Gator fans who feel the need to cry about Billy Napier. The season that we are having, think about who our impact players are. Osiris Torrance, Ricky Pearsall, Montrell Johnson, ETN, Devin Moore, Kamari James, and Chris McClellan. Those are all the guys that he brought in year one. The guy knows talent. Thanks for the text, Doug. But it is true. All the better players are brand new.
Mm-hmm. There will be more.
Marissa says she thought she saw some glimmer of hope in AR, maybe more experience. No, he's been in college for 3 years. I have nothing against the kid. Everybody has their own opinions. I told you my opinions when we signed him, what the problems were. They ain't changed.
Well, what I did like was that the kids never quit playing. They
played hard.
They played as hard as they could. They tried, and they never quit. And I give them credit for that. That goes to the culture theme I've had with Billy from day one. But there is no question that this is the worst roster he will have as coach of the Gators, and it will get better. They will get more players. And I just think that right now, sitting at 4-4 with the games you have left, if you don't see what else is on the roster, then you're making a mistake. That's my thing.
Yeah, Tony, I agree with Tony says here on Facebook. Defense looked better, just way undermanned in the front seven. Think about that. They played their best game, in my opinion, defensively, got 3 turnovers, and still couldn't stop them. That's the most yards the Georgia Bulldogs have ever gained in that game. It goes to show you the huge talent gap. Yeah. And nobody will ever convince me otherwise because I said it going into the game and then watching it in person. And walking on the field before the game, seeing their dudes in their suits walking on the field, and then seeing our dudes in their suits walking on the field, it was a different league, different league. So,
yeah, it looked like they were practicing out there against second and third.
No, I'm saying from a standpoint of these were grown ass men.
Yeah,
that they have on their team.
Right, they're better. They're better. They've been better for 4 years, and it's maybe even longer. So they're better. Okay, Florida's got 3 wins in their last 15 SEC games, 3 and 12.
No, it's 3. I think it's 3 out of the last 17 now.
Whatever it is, it's a ridiculous ratio. And
we only got 3 more wins than Vanderbilt.
If you're looking at the East, Missouri could easily be 6-2 right now, and they've beaten South Carolina 4 straight times and easily. And so I just think right now you're a bottom fisher. So you just got to, wait till next year. It's the old common threat. You're just going to have to wait. Look, you can watch these games they're going to play left. I'm not really that interested in them because I don't want to see the same old thing over and over again. But listen, they're going to probably play as hard as they can and hopefully get to 6 wins. I don't know. What do you think? You think 6 wins is in there? 7?
Well, South Carolina's not very good. South Carolina's like we are. Vanderbilt's not very good. So you got to win those 2 games.
Yeah, you got to win those 2. Right.
But I said before the season, if we won 7 games, if we won 7, he should be coach of the year. Now that ain't going to happen. But that's kind of facetious. But I've had multiple people during the game text me a graphic they threw up on the broadcast on CBS.
Yeah.
And it has the recruiting battle for the last 5 seasons, the rankings and the total 5 stars. Have you seen this, JC?
No, but I know about the recruiting.
So in the last 5 years, how many 5 stars would you guess that the Dogs have signed?
Georgia, it's a big number. It's a big number. It's up there with Alabama.
25.
Yeah, right.
How many 5 stars do you think the Gators have signed since then?
None.
2.
Same thing.
And one of them is Dexter, who, God bless him, he just gets blown off the ball every play.
Yeah. I mean, that guy. Listen, I mean, it's true.
We change his number.
The question that should be asked on ESPN is now that they're giving Dan Mullen the big gigs now is, dude, how did you leave the cupboard so bare at Florida? What were you doing during the offseason other than playing golf at Old Memorial in Tampa with guys like Casey Weldon and people like that? What were you doing down in Tampa instead of recruiting, bro? Because look at this roster. I think that Utah game really did a number on all of us, especially me.
Justice says, how's TC doing what they're doing with the new coaching staff? Their quarterback is good. He is really good. The TCU kid. Doug Dugan.
And he's got a coach that knows offense. I mean, Sonny is a very good.
But JC, here's what that comment there bothers me too, because
it shouldn't.
If you can't look, I've never coached above high school football, but I have coached teams where my first career win, we did not complete a pass. Okay. I wanted to run into a brick wall. I'd never been so miserable in my life, but sometimes you have what you have.
I know, but QB, this case, what you're saying is very true in many cases, but in not all. And I'll give you one name right now that is patently false. And that name is the guy who's about to be the NFL's MVP. And if he didn't make that move from Alabama to Oklahoma, I don't think he gets drafted. I don't think he's even looked at.
JC, here's the difference. Here's the difference in him. Here's the difference in him.
Lincoln Riley to play quarterback. And now he's going to be the NFL's MVP.
JC, he understands football. That's a lot of quarterbacking. That's about 50% of it.
That's fine. I understand he can read a playbook and he understands football, but the guy couldn't complete a 4 pass in a college championship playoff game.
Okay, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. Down. He was coached by his dad. He's been around the game his whole life. He understands the X's and O's. Okay. Whether he could throw or not, he has improved, and Lincoln Riley helped him there. But my point is, you can call all the plays with him. When a kid does not understand how to read stuff and what everybody's supposed to do, you are handcuffed with about 7 plays you can call.
Well, it's not. Hey, look, it's not Anthony's fault that nobody at East Side knows what the hell a football game is.
JC, again, that has nothing to do with it. I have coached multiple kids that do not understand football. You can't coach that into them.
I get it, but and to Jalen's defense, he had a new playbook every year since high school, and basically now
he knows football.
Right, but he still had problems in college until he got to a coach that helped him get first downs and get the ball in the end zone. And you cannot deny that. I mean, you saw it. You told me.
JC, I did, but you're going to sit here and argue with me that
so bad.
Go back and look at his stats at Alabama. You act like he didn't complete any passes.
He really didn't.
You know who recruited him? Lane recruited him. So you're saying Lane wasn't a good coach.
I went to the Alabama LSU game. It was 10-0. And I'll never forget how bored I was and how miserable that was. And I'll never forget all these instances where he just had guys wide open and didn't hit them. He threw it over their head, under the. I saw 4 years of that crap. he then goes to Oklahoma, and by just some crazy coincidence, Lincoln Riley is the coach there. And all of a sudden, now the guy's drafted, and he's about to be the NFL's MVP if he keeps going like this.
But
So,
again,
I'm
you're
sorry. It doesn't matter who
misunderstanding
your
what I'm
coach is.
saying.
It
The
matters
guy-
who the coach
The
is.
guy has football IQ.
But
okay,
it
you
matters who
can't
your
teach that.
coach is. It matters who your coach is. It does.
So I guess Lane's not a good coach, you're saying.
I didn't say that. You know I didn't say that. But I will
Andy-
say this.
Andy
Lane
says-
Kiffin forgot to get – wait a minute on Andy. Lane Kiffin forgot to give Derrick Henry the football against Ohio State, which is why Cardale Jones, who doesn't play a down of football right now, won the national championship. Otherwise, Alabama beats Ohio State. So, I mean, yeah, Lane's made mistakes too, QB. Believe it or not, he has. And if
Well,
they didn't let him off
a
the
lot of
bus.
people have mistakes. Coaching is not a perfect scenario because your coach
Right.
up
But
there
you
in
cannot
Tuscaloosa has
deny,
made multiple
you
clock
cannot
management
deny-
issues.
you
Speaking of
cannot
clock
deny
management,
that Lincoln Riley had a big effect on Jalen Hurts. And
I think Lincoln Riley is unbelievable. I've said it from day one. But Jalen, if you're going to compare Jalen Hurts and Anthony
I'm just
Richardson, it ain't even close.
QB, when he played for Alabama, the things I heard come out of your mouth about Jalen Hurts just
I
drove
said
me
he
crazy.
couldn't throw, but JC,
Okay.
he's a smart kid that understands the X's and O's. You can't teach that, JC. You've never been in a meeting room. I have been in meeting rooms my entire life. Kids either understand how to play the position or you don't. He knew how to play the position.
Well, there's a lot of kids that understand how to play. There's not as many kids who can actually do it. And Jalen wasn't doing it at Alabama. Now, he had a couple
it wasn't like he was not playing like our guy, okay?
No. But
Okay.
he had a great
That's my
defense.
point.
But he had a great defense and a lot of better players.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I am sitting
It
here
does
telling you
matter.
right now,
It
look at the
absolutely
top
does.
25. Their quarterback plays at a high level. Look at the
It absolutely matters who you have around you and who's playing with you.
It does not. A quarterback,
What?
I'm telling you right now, if he completes a couple of those touchdowns, the game is different Saturday. The game is different.
Okay. I'm done watching the Gators. The Gators are not. It's just
All right. So Dale says, QB, this clock management stuff has me baffled as he an inexperienced college coach. Can you say, okay, the clock management, I've had zero problem with clock management because, again, we tried to get a first down at the end of the half. We threw some incomplete balls, and then our quarterback scrambled and ran out of bounds. Okay? Georgia didn't have to use a timeout. Again, you cannot call plays if you do not trust the ball to be completed. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know what games these people watch.
it's
don't
not
know.
much fun to watch. I'll tell you that.
I'm just saying. So, anyway, comparing Jalen Hurts to when he played at Alabama to now, it's not even close because he completed some balls. Not a lot, but he completed some balls.
He had players too. And
he says AR is terrible. He seems to grow a little each week. He should have been way ahead of where. Here's what I've tried to tell somebody. I told 3 people yesterday. The word develop drives me insane also when people bring that up. Sometimes they are who they are. It doesn't matter if you bring Bear Bryant or Bill Belichick to a team. The player is who they are. Sometimes there's a ceiling, okay?
Well, I don't think that ceiling is being discovered a lot of times, and that's.
But JC, my point is, okay. You play a lot of golf.
Mm-hmm.
You are who you are when you play golf. You play every freaking day. Are you getting any better?
Yeah, my handicap's low.
Well, it's the same. I mean, but maybe that's a bad analogy. My point is, I have been around the game of football and sports my entire life. I have coached kids, and when you put in everything you've put into them, and then it just doesn't happen, you've got to say, you know what? That's the best he's ever going to be.
Well, I mean, if you want to give up on him that quickly,
It's not giving up, JC.
I mean, I don't know. There was a story about an Arkansas offensive lineman whose locker has been retired. He died in a tragic accident. The guy couldn't walk straight, and they made him into a great offensive lineman. QB. There's so many examples of players.
There are a million. There are a trillion. Examples of so-called potential great athletes.
Well, that's what they're talking about.
Out.
But they're talking about that. They're talking about athletes that do pan out who weren't.
Well, it's a very small percentage. because I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. And then this goes beyond the quarterback position. But when people sit here and talk about this guy, I mean, let's just trade. Everybody wants to get on Trey Dean. I thought Trey Dean played outstanding Saturday. I thought it was his best game of his Gator career. You know what? The other guy just made more plays than he did, but it was in perfect coverage. It played well. So anyway, are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darring Weeby, a Caldwell banker, MM Parish, provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. I'm just going to say this, and I've said it multiple times. This has nothing to do with Anthony Richardson as a person. I have seen him for 6 or 7 years play football, and if he comes back, we'll be sitting here next Halloween saying the same stuff.
Well, then you better call your coach because he's in charge.
I have nothing to do with the coach. I'm just telling you. I firmly believe it has something to do with NIL. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, then the coach is compromised. He's not doing his job, and he's being overpaid. Why do you need to pay a coach $7 million who's compromised by what some idiot wants to pay a football player? That's ridiculous, QB. And the fact is that he doesn't have anything that he's confident with that can give him the best chance to win right now. And I'm saying go out and see. You got 4 games left. Do something with those games and don't waste all of our damn time because that's what this has become, a big waste of time. So
we missed way too many wide open guys. That's all I can say.
Well, this is a broken record, QB. So why are we still listening to this? I mean, let's just move on. I mean, I don't know. What's the harm? What do you have to lose at this point? Just give me that. I don't want to hear about some guy running the program with a big wallet and is, paying Anthony Richardson $900,000. Big deal. Billy Napier won't be around long if that's how he's going to make his coaching decisions.
Tyler says we brought one all-out blitz on third down at work. Need to blitz. Tyler, we bought a bunch of all-out blitzes, and they picked us up. Here's the thing: it's feast or famine when you blitz. We went all-out blitz, and they threw a touchdown on the play. So anyway. Look, we don't have one player that can play for Georgia. I am firmly convinced of that right now. It is a long road, uphill battle. But I'm telling you, in year 3, you'll have a legitimate SEC roster.
I get. Yeah, I mean, it's got to go up from here, right? I mean, it's got.
Well, they're going to have a top 5. They're going to have a top 5 recruiting class.
Yeah, we'll see what that means. I mean, last year we were talking about how bad Tennessee's defense was. Look how good they've become all of a sudden. It's just crazy to me. And then this kid, Slaughter, he goes from safety to quarterback and picks off 2 passes. I mean, it's unbelievable. Nobody talked about him last year. Slaughter for Tennessee. I mean, it's unbelievable. The guy goes.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. I've seen both of those teams in person.
Goes from safety to quarterback, and he picks off 2 balls.
I've seen Tennessee and Georgia in person.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee's offense is outstanding, but boy, they better look out because that damn defense is nasty. I'm telling you. And here's the thing. Georgia's pretty good on offense. Georgia and TCU are the only teams in America that are averaging over 300 yards in the air and over 200 yards on the ground per game. Tennessee better get ready because I think Georgia's going to win that game because it's in Athens.
That helps.
They're going to have trouble stopping the tight end position. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah, I felt bad for Bernie. I mean, that play.
Bernie played the best game he's ever played as a Gator.
I know, but he could have caught that ball. I just think he could have, but it didn't happen.
Well, that's why he plays defense. Andy says, Shane, that pass interference before half. Oh, yeah, it was terrible. It was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. Should have been offensive pass. He pushed our guy basically on the ground.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what else? What else happened out there, JC?
Well, Kansas State's 48-0 win over Oklahoma State shocked me, and they have a backup quarterback named Will Howard who had 4 touchdowns and 300 yards passing. It's unbelievable. Who would have known if he didn't get to play? Well, he got to play because Adrian Martinez was hurt. Who would have known about Kyle Trask if Felipe Franks didn't get hurt? And then you've got, Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, 5 for 138, 2 touchdowns, school record 14 single-season touchdowns at Tennessee. School record. It's amazing what a new coach can do, isn't it? And then, Mississippi, my Rebs, not yours, mine, 8-1, 8-1, and they have a week off before they play at home against Alabama. I'm going to say this right now today. that the real SEC West will be decided not this weekend in Baton Rouge, but it will be decided in Oxford in 2 weeks. Mississippi gets the week off. The team you thought would be fourth in the West is 8-1, and they're going to play for the West title.
Well, I will tell you this: they can run the football, but they cannot throw it.
Well, whatever it is,
and their defense stinks. Alabama will score 40 on Ole Miss.
Well, maybe, but I think Ole Miss will score on Alabama. I don't doubt it. I think
Ole Miss. I like. I mean, first of all, they got a true freshman running back that is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But Ole Miss has been they've benefited from a easiest damn schedule I've ever seen.
Well, they still play in the West. I mean, those teams aren't that bad. There's a couple bad ones, but they're not even worse in the East. And then you've got.
Well, they lost to what's their record in the West? 1-1.
They've got one loss. They're 4-1, I think.
They're 1-1 in the West. They beat A&M and they lost to LSU. I don't think they've played anybody else in the West yet. Well, they beat Auburn.
How is that possible, QB?
They beat Auburn.
You're telling me they've played 3 games. Everybody else has played 6. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. I don't think that's right. But regardless of what it is or what it isn't,
well, they haven't played. They haven't played Arkansas. They haven't played Mississippi State, and they haven't played Alabama.
Right. They've played Kentucky, Vanderbilt. They've played Auburn, and they've played LSU and Texas A&M. They've played. They're
2-1. They're 2-1 in the West.
Well, in the West, no, I know, but they've played 5 SEC games. Thing is that they played.
But they've played nobody worth a damn.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, listen, I don't think everybody wants your beloved Tigers at LSU. They beat Florida and they beat Ole Miss. In the last 2 games, you're ready to put them in the SEC championship game. Also,
no, I don't think LSU's very good.
Well,
I just thought they were better than Ole Miss.
I think after Alabama beats LSU in Baton Rouge, because they always win there, the SEC West will be decided in Oxford, and
it won't even be a ball game. It won't even be close.
We'll see. And then the worst thing that happened over the weekend was if you had West Virginia plus 7.5, and you didn't see this because you were working, but TCU had the ball with the clock running out. All they had to do was take a knee. You know what they did? They threw a touchdown pass with 25 seconds left in the corner of the end zone, and they won by 10. They were up by 3, and all they had to do was take a knee, and West Virginia didn't cover. I thought that was amazing. And then nothing eclipses what happened in Atlanta yesterday, QB. And what happened in Atlanta yesterday, you probably missed this too.
I saw that.
So 62 yards to try to win the game or tie the game. Everybody on Atlanta's defense against Carolina knows what's coming. And DJ Moore catches a pass in the end zone, a Hail Mary, and ties the game. He then takes his helmet off because he's never been there before, and he's celebrating like he won the Super Bowl, and it's a 15-yard penalty. That puts Eddie Pinheiro, have we heard his name around here before? Eddie Pinheiro, the poor kid, has to now kick an extra point from 48 yards. And he missed it. Yep, and then they go to overtime. In overtime, he had a 36-yarder or something, and he missed that. So we won't see Eddie Pinheiro on our NFL roster probably by 10 o'clock this morning. And the Falcons won the game. And right now, the Falcons at 4-4 in the NFC South, they're in first place. There you go.
All right, so let's get some text here before we get out of here. Matt from Mariana says, QB, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. We have a running quarterback who is ineffective at running and injury-prone and can't complete a pass with any consistency. But we won't try another quarterback because of that. That's my personal opinion because I don't know if the other quarterbacks are being paid.
So our team is run by guys who pay the players. That's good to know. I'm just thinking. You can save a lot of money for a head coach by just not paying somebody $7 million if that's how you're going to run your team. You can save a lot of money.
I don't know who this is from. It says, "Good morning, JCQB. Do you think the Gators are resilient enough to not quit after that Georgia loss? Seems like Napier's changing the call. Yeah, they played hard in the second half." All right, this is from Michael. He says, I watched the Florida-Georgia game on Saturday. Last year's team would have laid down and quit. Third quarter with fight left in the Gators. I'm inspired. D still has problems, get opponents off the field, but force turnovers. The offense took care of the ball, no fumbles or interception. Could have been a few interceptions. At the beginning of the season, I was and still hoping for 6 and 7 or possibly 8 wins in a bowl game. 8 wins will require them to win the remaining. They ain't winning all of them. This is from Daryl. Says, do you think we will be in a track meet with A&M? I don't know, but we better figure out how to stop A-Chain. He's the fastest human in America.
Yeah. Well, they can't score either. They're not that good either. So
Ronald,
they got a freshman quarterback.
Yeah, he's actually kind of talented, actually. Ronnie from Pensacola. It is time for AR to sit down. His third year on campus, 8 games as a starter, and no improvement. Still a deer in headlights. I agree.
You do not agree. You said he's going to play the rest of the season.
That's not what the gentleman said. He said he needs to sit down.
For him to sit down. Yeah,
I know, and I agree with that.
Okay, but he's not, according to you.
I don't think so. I'm not making the decisions. But my point is,
then why do you give me all this shit about whether or not Kittner should play or whether or not Miller should play?
Because I'm telling it, we're a talk show. You give your opinion, I give my opinion. My opinion is they should play another quarterback. I don't think it will happen ever till he goes pro.
Oh God, yeah, and the GM that wastes his first round capital on that guy won't be a GM much longer. That's how I'm.
All right, Alan says a lot of fans are looking for and expecting other Trask gear. These armchair coaches believe that Kittner and Miller are better at QB than AR. I will tell you this, Alan. They will complete the throws that are open. I will tell you that. Both.
Yeah, I'd be nice to watch that. Court, apparently, we're not going to though.
Yeah,
but it'd be nice to see. I think it needs.
That's the thing that bothers me about. It's the word potential. Okay, I get so tired of hearing about. It doesn't matter if the quarterbacks. It could be a wide receiver, it could be a tailback, it could be a defensive lineman. It's all about production. If you don't produce, it's time to move on. But I think people get so enamored with that potential that they keep waiting and waiting and waiting. I've said it from day one. Ain't gonna happen.
Well, I'm saying quit waiting. Put the other kids.
Scott says, Shane, what do you think the HBC would do with AR?
Well,
first of all, the HBC, everywhere he's been, he's had the same guy, same type of guy on his roster at quarterback.
He would be a tight end. And he probably wouldn't be playing quarterback in that system. Probably wouldn't even come to Florida if that were the case. So that's not even a realistic hypothetical.
Yeah. I'm reading all these people. Shane, if Napier does decide to play another QB, who do you think it's the best one? Well, Miller's been hurt. I don't even know. I don't know. All I'm saying is when guys are open in the seam, guys are open on wheel routes, guys are open in the flat, you got to hit them. I don't care if it's a walk-on. I don't care who it is. So, anyway, we're gonna go talk to Scott Carter, get his thoughts, JC. But anyway, you got anything else before we let you go?
Well, no. I mean, listen. I there's nothing wrong with saying, let's look forward to next year. Whatever. December is coming soon. And
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'm asking this as an honest question, not to you, but to everybody. Billy's going to have a really good recruiting class. Is that going to translate to winning the East? No, not next year. But what, in your mind, what is the most important thing for the Gator football team moving forward to next year?
Find somebody who can get the ball in the end zone and win games. That is what defines a good quarterback. So if you can get – now, on top of that, it would be great to see somebody in the front seven pressure the quarterback consistently. That'd be fun too. So those are two areas that I think we have to address, and certainly December is the start of that with the early signing period, and that's only a month and 15 days away. So, listen, it's forward thinking in my mind right now because I mean I heard people in the grocery store last night. They played hard, God bless them, but let's just wait till next year. I get it, but let's see what those are the two areas. QB, get the ball in the end zone. Pressure the quarterback on the other side.
David says, Shane, how much of Napier's playbook have we seen? Hardly any of it. You can't call plays. And I've talked, we're going to get to Scott Carter, but when you sit down with your quarterback on a Thursday or Friday before a game, you have these 3 or 4 pages of plays and they mark off the ones you don't like. The quarterback does. Don't call these. I did it when I was in the NFL. Coach, don't call this play if I'm in the game. And that playbook goes from here to here to here. Yeah. I think our playbook's about like that. I really do.
There is.
And I have information. I think it's about like that.
Well,
So-
look, you can't win in the SEC with a playbook that big, I wouldn't think, and we're seeing it right now.
All right, JC, have a
All
good.
right.
We'll see you on
We'll
Wednesday.
see you Wednesday.
JC, join us on the Titan and More Hotline. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like the Keys Bar and Grill, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Le Macaron, The Gadget Guys, and HBC's Restaurant Spurs Gridiron Grill, now selling head beer coach American Lager at Spurs, Visors, and Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to head to the Titan More Hotline now, joined by senior writer for FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Shane, what's going on, buddy? Doing all right, man. Just trying to.
Yeah, JC and I went at it here for a while, and Scott says here on the Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, if you are correct about the QB situation, then we should try the other QBs. Look, that's just my personal opinion, folks. Scott, basically what I said today, we missed too many open guys against Georgia. I don't know if it changes the outcome. There were some dudes running wide open that we missed. We have to know situations when we had 2 4th downs where we threw the ball out of bounds instead of throwing it in the end zone to give us a chance. And then running out of bounds there, the last possession before the half really hurt us. We didn't force Georgia to use any timeouts. So long story short, I like Anthony, but he is who he is. You know, people keep talking about this, that, and the other. I've said it from day one. I don't know if it'll ever click, but I mean, Florida's got a lot of problems. Give me your thoughts on what you saw Saturday in the Gator Bowl.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of issues. The number one thing, let's just start with the obvious. And I think if you really understand the game and positions and needs, I mean, it was pretty easy to tell that, Georgia has superior talent right now to Florida at most positions. And this isn't anything new to, we talked about the same thing back in 2015 and 2016 when the Gators played Alabama in those back-to-back SEC championship games. They just didn't look like Alabama. And right now they just don't look like Georgia. So, there is a gap there. That's why Billy Napier is here. And he's working on that. As far as what we saw in the field, though, in terms of execution, I mean, it just, the only time I thought the Gators looked good was in that third quarter on their first drive. And what they did there, Anthony was very physical that drive. He was involved in the run game. They got the running game going. But for the most part, it was just a very inconsistent performance. So they didn't really do anything that well to where you're going to, really have a chance to beat Georgia. And Anthony, I mean, he's a topic conversation every week as a quarterback always is. Yeah, he's just uneven. I mean, it's just nothing that I saw was any different than what we've seen. I mean, Anthony has great right arm, the dart he made to Henderson. That's typical of a play he can make. he did some things in the running game that helped in the third quarter, especially. But he also, like, I remember that one touchdown he missed to Montrell Johnson Jr., who was wide open. He went to ETN over in the corner instead. Yeah, there were some people he missed. And he just, just inconsistent with this decision making. And, it's typical of a young quarterback, Shane. But yeah, we were talking about the same thing over and over. And I mean, I'm hoping that they can get some things figured out there. But I think a lot of it is going to be whether Anthony can get some things figured out there.
Yeah, we got a text on the Titan Mar text line from a gentleman, anonymous texter. He says, "You said Napier will be coach of the year if he wins 7 games. Doesn't Heupel have that?" Yeah, it's kind of in a joking manner. I said that before the season because I knew from what my eyes have told me from the end of spring, watching practice before the season kicked off. I didn't think I thought the team might win 7 games. So it was more of a joke than anything. But I was basically saying he would be doing a unbelievable job coaching if we got to 7 wins. But yeah, Josh Heupel clearly will be the coach of the year. Toby says they had a couple of weeks to get ready for Georgia. No explosive plays in the first quarter. Look, they had opportunities for explosive plays, and we missed some dudes open. That's where you get your explosive plays from. The explosive play that we did get in the third quarter, they busted the coverage. Georgia busted the coverage and left a guy running wide open. So it does happen. The Gators aren't the only team that busts coverages. Everybody does. It happens every now and then. So, Scott, defensively, I told someone earlier, I mentioned I thought it was the best game we played all year defensively, quite honestly. We got 3 turnovers. But when you look at the stats, it's the most yardage Georgia's ever put up in the cocktail party.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, how that works. Overall, I thought they did some things defensively that obviously kept them into the game and really turned the momentum there in the third quarter. The first half was left a little bit to be desired. I mean, there was that fluke play with Bowers' catch after Bernie tipped it. I mean, just one of those plays that happens. But, it was the tone was set in the first quarter. Florida couldn't do anything offensively. Georgia executed well, moved the chains. We got to the end zone both times. And from there, you just felt that, man, this is kind of going to work out like a lot of people expected. And it did. Even when the Gators got back into it, they just didn't feel like they really were going to come back. But defensively, I don't think that was a problem, Shane. I think, the defense did its part for a job for the most part. Obviously, when you're challenged in the first half like they were on the field the whole half pretty much. So they're going to give up some plays and yards. You got to have help. And I just think the most glaring thing to me in the whole game, 13 rushing yards in the first half on 13 carries for a team that's averaging almost 6.5 yards. You knew they had to run the ball early, and it just didn't happen. And game was over by the time they started moving the chains.
Yeah, Florida's done a really good job running the football all year long. But what you saw in this game, I said it on the broadcast, I thought Georgia on both lines of scrimmage was just wearing us out.
Yeah. I was watching Jalen Carter there through the binoculars a little while. I'm looking at the final stats. He ends up with 1 tackle. But what he was doing up front was causing some issues to allow other guys to make plays. I mean, Georgia had 8.5 tackles for loss in that game. I think Florida had 1 or 2. But, you have great players. They make everybody around them so much better. And, yeah, I agree with you there.
Ted has a question here, and I don't know if this was addressed in the post-game press conference. I touched on it earlier, just giving my thoughts. He says, why did they call a lot of run plays on 3rd and at least 6? 3rd and long, this is my explanation. I don't know if Billy gave one, and Billy's probably not going to tell the truth. This is how I viewed it. Well, first of all, in the third quarter, we did the same thing going towards the river on 3rd and long, and we converted them. I mean, we bounced some of them outside for long runs. So I think it comes down to the tendencies, all the film breakdown. That's where how a lot of people call plays is based on 3rd and 7 plus. What does Georgia do defensively? Well, they give you this look. Well, heck, we can gash some runs on this, or we can get a few yards and then get it down to where we go for it or what have you. But also, I just think sometimes he's scared to call pass plays. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think there's probably some truth there in everything you just said. I think, we have seen some unorthodox play call into what may be traditional. I think that's just going to be Billy's MO. He's such an analytical guy. I think all that stuff about looks that he's seeing and why you're running third and long, it may be advantageous for you with the look he's getting. So I think that's just going to be consistent with him as a play caller. The other part of it, he's not going to say that publicly. But yeah, there's some things going on there, I'm sure, where you don't want to repeat of what happened last year, in the Georgia-Florida game when those 3 turnovers at the end of the first half doomed the Gators after it was only 3-0 almost before halftime. So I think there was some conservativeness there at times in the passing game, and then they finally got the ball going in the third quarter once the defense helped them out with some turnovers. But yeah, I mean, he really that was not a hot topic of conversation after the game. Probably will be later today when he meets with the media again.
Hey, Chris Storing Mortgage, Mortgage Lending Right, helping home buyers throughout games at North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Text from Allen in Atlanta on the Titan Moore text line. Do the Gators even practice a 2-minute offense? It doesn't look like it. Yes, they do, multiple times. Again, it goes down to understanding how to run a 2-minute offense and completing passes. I don't know how else to put it, people. I'm trying to be as nice as I can.
Yeah, it's one of these things, Shane, where we've seen it before in recent years at Florida. I mean, a lot of talk with, Felipe Franks early when he was the quarterback. I can't remember which coach said it, but fitting the square peg into a round hole sometimes.
Yeah.
We hear that over and over in football when it comes to quarterbacks. And Anthony is, he's a marvelous athlete. He certainly, I think, has a future in the game. I just don't know if it's going to be quarterback. It's going to be fascinating to me to see what the NFL talent evaluators do ultimately decide on him because, he was high this year, obviously had a very uneven season, and he's still young. Look, I mean, the guy can still improve a lot. I mean, he's not a finished product by any means. But this year, where he is, there's a lot of room for improvement, and he's shown some tendencies not to make some, good decisions at times, and just inexperience has cost him. So you see that a lot with young quarterbacks, but I just don't know. Ultimately, he's such a great athlete. It'll be interesting to see where his final landing spot is in the game.
Scott wants to know here. He asked you, are we recruiting a quarterback in this class? I don't think we are. I mean, they're always recruiting. If there's somebody that they have an opportunity to get that's on their board, they will recruit that guy. But I would think, I know they have a couple for the class. Well, actually, they do have one committed from Nice. What's his name? Marcus something, I think. But anyway,
but
I could see them going into the portal possibly. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and Anthony is, like I said, I mean, he can do some things out there that not other guys can do. So there's stuff there to work with. I just don't know what the long-term future is there with him. As far as the quarterback situation, the great thing about the game today is you can there's going to be free agency basically after every season, Shane. I mean, there's going to be a quarterback available, and if the Gators want him and other schools want him, he can be had. It's just a different nature of the game. So whether or not they're recruiting a quarterback or have one committed in this class, if they need one, they'll end up having one. So.
All right. So this Brent says, I thought we played better at times this game than all the other games. To me, it doesn't come down to talent totally. Lesser talented teams have beaten bigger teams with execution. Let's be honest, we don't execute. We need to be more consistent. If that happens, I believe we can. Well, that's one of my points right there. We don't have great talent, but when you have guys that are open, you complete those balls. Is the outcome different? I don't know, but you got to at the quarterback position. You're going to miss some throws. That's not what I'm saying. You're not going to go throw for 100%, but you've got to hit a high percentage of when guys are wide open. I don't know how else you put it. Mike asked, would Miller and Kitna start somewhere else? We don't know that. I'm not saying they're the next Danny Werfel, but I'm just saying for Florida to be a better football team, the quarterback position, I don't need no damn design runs, people. Nobody's designing runs for anybody in the top 15. If you look at those teams, nobody's designing runs for the quarterback. It's all about delivering and throwing completions. So it is that. But we will. Scott, somebody sent me a text earlier. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
From a talent standpoint. They were saying, everybody's complaining, blah blah blah, about Billy Napier, but he brings up a good point. The best players that are playing on our team right now are players that he brought in: Osiris Torrance, Ricky Pearsall, Montrell Johnson, ETN, Devin Moore, Kamari Wilson, and Chris McClellan. Those are all Billy Napier signees.
Yeah. Well, best way I can put this, Shane, is my kids are getting old enough to actually care about sports now. And they were grilling me yesterday. Like, they're disappointed. Like, what's going on? Why can't they do? Why aren't they winning? I said, well, I told them, I explained to them the definition of residual effect. What we're seeing here is the residual effect of some bad years in recruiting and talent acquisition for the Gators over the last, you always hate to just throw the former regime under the bus every time something doesn't look good in the current situation. But you're right, their best players this year are the Napier players. And obviously they're getting help from guys who Mullen and the other staff brought in back in the day, but they didn't bring in enough of those guys. And I mean, I told them, look, all you had to do is look on that telecast Saturday. CBS had that graphic. The last 5 years, 5-star recruits: Georgia 25, Florida 2. I mean, there's really not much else to say if you understand top to bottom of a program. And it takes time, and I think they'll get there. I think they'll close that gap quicker than some people expect, but it showed up in a bad way on Saturday.
Yeah. All right, last thing before we get you out of here. Van Der, I don't know what he's talking about here, but he says, Shane, I believe that you will not be happy about the quarterback until Shane Matthews walks on the field. That's not true. I just need somebody to complete passes, buddy. I mean, that's the object of a quarterback, is to complete passes. It ain't to run for 75 yards. It's to drop back, make good decisions, and deliver the football so your playmakers can make plays. That's what the quarterback is responsible for.
You have to make those plays. Yes, you have to make those plays. And everything else that – if you're not making those plays, you just can't do anything consistently.
No. And then that's when people want to go, well, why are we not running him? Again, I don't know anybody in America, unless you played at Nebraska back in the day or you play at Army and Navy, where you're designing runs for your quarterback. I don't know. People don't do that. They're designing plays to throw it down the field and complete it. So, Scott, appreciate your time, my man.
Yeah, always enjoy it. One of those Mondays that were a little hot, after Georgia, but hey, they'll get it figured out, but it's going to take a little time.
Yeah. Zach says, how many 5-stars do the Vols have? I would think not many. Here's what the Vols have: 25 transfers from the portal and a quarterback that is an elite thrower of the football.
Yeah. Okay. He's a total difference maker with that program. Hooker is, it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain this momentum after he left, because he's. Let
me ask you this, because I real quick, because we're running out of time. We've both seen Tennessee and Georgia in person.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgia them and TCU are the only teams in America that are averaging over 300 passing and over 200 rushing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a hell of a game, but I just think Georgia is way more physical on the lines of scrimmage than Tennessee, and I think they'll win the game.
I'm there with you. I had the same talk with somebody yesterday. I still like Georgia in that game. I just think their defense is elite, and I think as good as Hooker is, the Vols are going to move the chains. They're going to score some points, but Georgia can match them. They can play that kind of game as we've seen, but their defense is definitely more physical. And they'll cause a turnover or something that change that game.
Yep. Scott, good stuff as always, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you guys.
That's Scott Carter. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Ruse Ogre State Farm is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com at 352-240-7669 1779. Let's get to this day in sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Give Comfort Temp a call at 352-376-2366. 2003, Bethany Hamilton, at age 13, had her arm bitten off by a shark while surfing in Hawaii. Then I think they had that movie and stuff about her. Real quick, this is another text from says, when Hooker leaves, I expect Tennessee to come back to being a middle of the pack SEC team. Could, because their backup Joe Milton was the starter when Josh Heupel took over. Couldn't get it done, but they'll probably bring in somebody that can throw it around a little bit. But Hooker's an outstanding college football player. Appreciate you joining our program. We'll be here tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. Take care.